Okay, we're back, and we're heading into round 4, and we're going to have both of our feature matches are going to be players who are attempting to sweep the Legacy rounds. Up first is going to be Will Krueger, who won our Legacy trial with Rogue Delver, playing, again, the same deck. And he's going to be playing against Hogaak. But we'll take a look at Krueger's deck list first. Let's see. Does anything stand out as being different from what we just saw from Edgar Magayesh? The main deck looks the same, I believe.
I would almost say that this is the exact same 75, except for maybe the sideboard has a couple nuances. Like we see one copy of Court of Cunning in the sideboard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does look the same. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at Will's opponent. Mickey Siegel with Sultai Hogaak, a deck we have not seen today. In fact, I don't think we saw last Legacy either. So if this is new for any of our modern players who tuned in early actually are familiar with a lot of these cards. But Anuraag, you want to run through kind of the basics of what's going on here?
Yeah, this deck is an absolute nightmare for me, and I don't like it at all. This deck is a graveyard-based strategy that leverages the power of cards like Hedron Crab and Citrus Supplier to dump cards into your graveyard. And then, you might mill some pretty valuable things like Bloodghast, Vengevine, Gravecrawler to recur from the graveyard. You have Hogaak also, which is the namesake of the deck. It just does so much in this deck, right? Not only is it an 8/8 that you can get into play for 0 mana, but it also combos alongside Altar of Dementia, which is, like we're mentioning, for modern players, you might be familiar with this for the short period of time where Hogaak was literally everywhere. This is pretty much doing the same thing. And that goes to say a lot, right? When a modern deck is winning and it's so powerful that it can port over to Legacy, it's strong.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and go into the match as the players are beginning. One note so when Ruin Crab was printed just recently, mill decks were able to play a second copy of that effect. They now have the 2 different crabs. However, the Ruin Crab, the new version, instead of milling target player, it only mills your opponent. So the Hogaak decks don't have the option of doubling up on crabs, whereas the mill decks do. Anyway, we see here with Will's hand is, how would you classify this? I would say it's okay at best.
I think I agree with you. My thought process here is that the Delver of Secrets is a nice piece of aggression here, and you've got a lot of disruption available here in the form of Wastelands. In fact, so much that you might even try to leverage the power of Wasteland here. I guess Will is just trying to steal a win here, which I totally understand this, but otherwise your hand seems pretty soft here. You don't have any copies of Brainstorm or Ponder. And, your threat suite is just the Delver of Secrets. This is a matchup where I think Delver of Secrets is actually going to be pretty good. Mm-hmm. But the hand still needs a little bit more to shape up here. And, I mean, a Dreadhorde Arcanist is the first step.
Yeah, and Wasteland's great for buying time. Yeah, Arcanist, now this is more similar to what we saw from Edgar's Game 3, whereas the Arcanist doesn't have any actual things to play with to start off the game. And I don't know that... Oh, okay, so we do see Mickey miss the... only had the 2 lands, so is stuck on just 1 here.
Yeah, and that is a very good sign from the Delver perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Wastelands are paying off here. Got to wonder what else might be in Mickey's hand. Maybe like an extra copy of, just like 2 mana spells like Altar of Dementia, for example, or stranded Hogaaks that will not be able to come into play at this time.
Yeah, it could be any number of things, but yeah, being limited on mana, I mean, having only 1 land, then drawing crabs aren't going to do any good. So those are dead cards. We're going to need to see something get going here. Delver is, once it gets going, Delver closes quickly.
Yeah, I also wonder, Polluted Delta fetched up a great the Underground Sea on the very first turn here, and I'm wondering if we have the basic in the deck, so I wonder if we were supposed to get the Swamp to begin with so that we could just deploy, whatever 2-drop that we have on curve. I mean, we're still going to lose the Wasteland regardless here. And yeah, you can see this Altar of Dimension on the stack here, and Will is hovering over that Daze with the Swiftness here. Not going to let that one resolve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is going to be tricky for Mickey, as The Altar goes down. I'm going to lose the Underground Sea here. And this is not a deck that plays a ton of lands. I'll see if I can find actually how many there are.
It looks like 18 lands with 1 basic.
Okay, so yeah, that's gonna be tough.
I agree. Yeah, I would.
And doesn't want to try, which is unfortunate because Will didn't actually have anything else going on. But that is enough. So Will sideboard package, crop rotations, a Bajuga Bog, a surgical. That's the bulk of it. Looks like he might want to bring in Pyroblast, but no, he's just sorting stuff out. So that's what he's got. Let's go ahead and look at Mickey's sideboard. So really we're just facing graveyard hate. And Mickey has Force of Vigors, which are not going to help. Those are the kind of the anti-cyborg cards, but they're not effective here. In fact, there really is the crop rotation Bajuga Bog plan. There's nothing Mickey can do about that aside from catch it with a Thoughtseize, which probably isn't getting boarded in.
Yeah. I mean, maybe the plan in this situation is just going to be to get Abrupt Decay and Assassin's Trophy, play a much slower game, try not to rely on the graveyard as much. Just get like a Hogaak into play. You have an 8/8 Trampler and try to ride that to victory, or maybe like a Vengevine or 2 by the second turn. Mm-hmm. I agree with you, though, that crop rotation looks exceptionally good here, just not a really good way to interact with it. And I think that might be what separates this Delver deck from other lists, is that you don't have the traditional like surgical extractions or like cages or spell bombs or whatever it is that Delver plays nowadays. One question I want to ask you is, going into the post-board games as the players are going to get ready here, do you, from the Hogaak perspective, like keeping in the Altar of Dementia?
Well, so Altar of Dementia really has 2 roles, right? It's a way to win outside of combat, and it's a way to combo faster. And I think winning outside of combat in this matchup is unlikely to really matter. We're not going to get tagged by Ensnaring Bridge or anything like that. And the Graveyard Hate is, strong but temporary. So I think pulling them is reasonable.
Yep. Okay. I think I agree with that assessment as well. I think we could just try to maybe lean on our creatures a little bit harder. No, obviously in the face of like Oko, Thief of Crowns, that might not be as good here, or like Delver, that's evasively attacking for sizable chunks of damage. This hand, though, looks pretty good here, right?
Yes, it does. It looks, in fact, significantly better than what Will won with last game, as we see the crop rotation from the sideboard plan, which will work up until the point, Shadows of the Elves deck here, up until the Bajuga Bog is actually accidentally drawn, in which case it will no longer work. But there are brainstorms in the deck, so drawing the Bajuga Bog is not the end of its effectiveness.
Right, and so turn 1 Hedron Crab off of an Underground Sea here makes sense. One of your strongest starts. There's no removal spell for this Hedron Crab in X-Whale's hand, so that just means that the Hedron Crab is going to get to do Hedron Crab things, and maybe we'll actually get to see the Hogaak deck pop off in this match here. Crab says that when a land enters the battlefield, you get to mill 3 cards, and that is absolutely essential to the Hogaak strategy, just in the sense that when you mill over your cards, that's how you generate your bonus value by milling over the critical creatures. Like, is that double Vengevine?
Yeah, it is.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about here. And there's a Stitcher Supplier. Yeah. One more creature.
So this is a 3rd Vengevine. Yeah, this is a great start for Mickey, and it's all for naught.
Wow. And I was going to say, 12 points of power on turn 1 is so good. This is close to the perfect start.
Yeah.
But crop rotation, that is the tech here. Going to get Bajuka Bog and going to remove all that hard work. And the worst part is that you're also tagging a copy of Bridge from Below, which... Yeah.
This is... Mickey's Hedron Crab activations were too good.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Now, he did not lose a Hogaak, but I'd almost rather have lost a Hogaak and kept more Vengevines. So that is certainly unfortunate. There are 3 creatures in play, so that goes some ways towards being able to enable Hogaak. And Hedron Crab is not going to be deterred gets in for the big zero.
Hey, you got to respect it. You got to respect it. Send a message. Let them know.
That's right.
Now, that being said, though, I mean, Will's position from here will need a little bit of time to sort of amp back up. But we do have the cards now. Delver of Secrets and Oko, Thief of Crowns, can come down next turn. Really, the most important card that I want to see from Mickey's side is that 8/8. I think we definitely do want it. And okay, instead of playing the Delver, there's the Lightning Bolt on the Crab. How do you feel about that?
I think it's fine. I think without that crab, Mickey's going to have a hard time deploying a Hogaak, whether from hand or from the graveyard. So Will eating a few extra damage here, I think that's a price that's totally really reasonable to pay. And then now I think, we're not going to see Delver at all. We'll probably see Oko.
Yeah, this is actually super interesting, right? Because now we're sort of seeing one of the downsides to playing this Hogaak, this Hogaak deck. It is a creature combo deck. So, you do need to have some degree of things moving together, like working together in harmony, and disrupting just even a bit of that, like with that crop rotation on Bojuka Bog, might be enough to convert the value from these, cheap black creatures into nothing.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. There are options here for Will.
Looks like the option that we're going to go with is playing the Oko here, perhaps. Nope, Delver of Secrets.
Okay. Delver plus just deploy both creatures. Okay. I was actually thinking to myself, one of the options was Delver plus double Ponder, but that's not true because that Bojuka Bog on the board is basically a dead card.
Oh, okay. Wait, there's a Stitcher Supplier. Are we going to be able to maybe get Hogaak out this turn?
I think we're one card short at the moment. Unless from hand we could play one.
Okay, yeah.
You're right. If that's what I can't actually tell what all those cards are in the graveyard between the Thoughtseize. Okay, there was one from hand, so the graveyard's wiped out. Hogaak's on the board, which is great and all, except Oko beats everything.
Well, yeah, Oko does beat everything here as we flip a Wasteland to the Delver, so we're not actually going to reveal that. But what's interesting to me, I wonder, do you think that the Abrupt Decays on the trophies came in? I have to imagine that they did.
Interesting. What is? Oh, I see. Yeah, so Lightning Bolt, I forgot those are graveyard. So Lightning Bolt takes out the Hogaak. Wasteland pops off. Interesting. Wastelanding there actually makes it easier for Hogaak to come back, but I guess Will doesn't really care because Oko can just handle the Hogaak again.
Oh, this is a really good draw here. The
Yeah,
Vengevine coming down for the full.
And a really unlikely draw is that's the last Vengevine.
Yeah, that's a really good point. 3 of them in exile thanks to the Bojuka Bog.
Yeah. But so Oko getting dropped here, that actually excuse me. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know if that transferred through the microphone. I'm sure it did. But Oko gets dropped there, and so the Supplier's back on defense. So that Dreador Arcanist is probably not going to want to attack.
Yeah, the Supplier directly, like with the Hogaak in the graveyard, every Supplier that you kill is just, more food for the it's an avatar creature, right? Yeah, I think so. I mean, this is kind of unfortunate because the Delver hasn't flipped for many, many turns, because that's so much damage that you've represented here that you'd much rather have in the air turning sideways. With the Vengevine now in play, your life total, I mean, you're still healthy at 15, but it is a means to an end. Whereas before it was just a bunch of X1 creatures, right?
Yeah. Now, what do you do here with this Ponder? I mean, you want to flip the Delver, but Force of Will's not super exciting. Wasteland's not exciting. So,
yeah, I'm inclined to maybe either draw the Force begrudgingly and then flip to Preordain, or just shuffle altogether. Those are the only 2 options here. I wouldn't even be upset with just a full-on shuffle here, because that Vengevine is it's doing things, and maybe the name of the game at this point is to just race, and there's better chances to. You still have another Ponder in your hand, right?
Right. Yeah, Will's giving this some thought.
Yeah, I mean, that Vengevine coming down was so clutch there, because Oko was otherwise going to take over the board.
Okay, so yeah, Force of Will's drawn, Preordain left on top, Arcanist Probably not.
attacking.
Yeah, wow.
Okay. That's quite aggressive. I
Yeah,
mean,
I agree. I mean, what Anuraag and I are kind of a little bit surprised by here. I mean, sure, Will has not the best cards on top of the deck, but the Arcanist will kill a Stitcher Supplier, which will enable the Hogaak to come back, if not something else worse happening. I don't know what that would be exactly, but this is a
if I,
reasonable attack, but it's not an attack that's obvious that you would want to make.
yeah, so my gut reaction here is that the plan that's being formulated in Will's mind is like, we're going to mill some cards here off of the Stitcher Supplier. We're okay with that because we drew into exactly Force of Will here. We're going to use the Dreadhorde Arcanist to recoup the card disadvantage from the Force of Will and then just keep progressing our own strategy here. So if you make this line, I think you're almost certainly priced into forcing the Hogaak, keeping in mind also that with the Bojuka Bog now in play, there actually is not another way to interact with the graveyard, I believe, because it was just the crop rotations and oh no, there's still one surgical extraction,
Yeah,
I
I think
think.
there was one other card. There's one surgical extraction. There are a pair of Clothis, if those came in, but Mickey at least will be able to see those coming.
Okay, yeah. So looks like the Hogaak now being convoked / delved into play here. Dreadhorde Arcanist might be one of the few cards that can bring Will into this game or head in this game out of nowhere, but the life total is getting a little bit low. 10 not so high against 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points of power. I can do math, yeah, in play. Oh man.
And yeah, the top because the with the top of the deck was a pair of Wastelands, I think, and on the Arcanist, were those kept? Are those the same two Wastelands? I don't know if those are the same two Wastelands or not, but if they are, then yeah, that's definitely a shuffle has to happen. And Wasteland is not even usable really. Okay, I'm sorry, it was a fresh Wasteland, so it was shuffled and just Wasteland ended up back on top of the deck. But this Ponder is fine.
This is a really good ponder. I think this is exactly what you want to be seeing here, right? You can maybe take a little bit more damage off the Vengevine here, but you can deploy another Delver of Secrets and then flip to a Lightning Bolt and then, perhaps go through that route. But it looks instead that Will's going to say, hey, maybe my life total is a bit too low here. I'm going to bolt this Vengevine and then, try to win the game that way. Now, unfortunately, what this means, though, is that the Dreadhorde Arcanist is maybe going to just... Oh, wow, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Dreadhorde Arcanist can flash back the crop rotation to shuffle the library.
Well, also it can turn the Bajugawog back into a useful land.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. And actually, we very well may see that this turn. That's pretty neat. And I think Will scrolling over the graveyard and seeing the crop rotation, I think he was just experiencing that also. So, oh, look what I can do.
Yeah, not a very obvious play, not one that you see. I mean, I bet that the number of times this play has actually happened in the history of Legacy, I will go that far, is maybe like less than the number of fingers that I can count on. So,
okay, yeah. So we're gonna see crop rotation removed the Bajugabog and turned into Caracas. So now Hogaak is permanently dealt with.
Yeah, and this is a good ponder here with the Lightning Bolt already in your hand to handle the Vengevine. I am all about now using Dreadhorde Arcanist to just draw a billion cards.
Yeah, now Delver will flip finally. Wasteland. Okay, Wasteland, because the Hogaak is dealt with by the Caracas. Now Wasteland actually is reasonable again. And yeah. From Mickey's perspective, this board probably looks okay, if a little dangerous, and then once the bolt gets cast, it's going to look downright bad.
Yeah, if I'm going to be completely honest with you, I'm not a huge fan of that Wasteland. I don't know what it stops, because you can cast all your, or I guess maybe like double Bloodghast. Okay, sure. Yeah, that's a stretch, but with 3 Vengevines are already gone and a number of other...
double Bloodghast actually would be lethal damage, barring the bolt. So, I suppose. But yeah, okay. So Will just comes in here for. I'm sorry. Mickey comes in for seemingly 7, but it's going to have to be 3. And with 2 cards in hand, it's not going to be easy to bring back that Vengevine. Although, if it did come back, it represents... Well, there is 7... Whoa.
Oh, wow. Okay.
A shame for Mickey's side that... Well, I take it back. I was going to say that didn't calm down pre-combat, but the Vengevine would have been
Just
bolted
got
in response
bolted, yeah.
anyway, so it wouldn't have mattered.
Okay. Wait, is this just going to be a kill out of nowhere? Because you can play the Gravecrawler now. And then if there's a land in hand, you can even buy back the Bloodghast, and you can... Oh, well, there's no bridge from below here, so I don't know if you'll be able to actually cast the Hogaak. Now, fortunately, the Altar of Dementia combo, so the way Altar works is that you can sacrifice a creature, and then you can mill a target player equal to the sacrificed creature's power. So essentially, the way the loop would work is if you buy back Hogaak, you can sacrifice the Hogaak, target yourself, mill enough cards to then at some point recast the Hogaak. So the full engine would involve some number of bridge from belows in the graveyard so that every time you sacrifice the Hogaak, you get replacement zombies to convoke the Hogaak out, and then you rinse and repeat. And basically it's an infinite loop that would, well, a finite loop, but a very, very largely finite loop that would mill yourself and then also mill the opponent out.
Yeah. It's actually doable even without bridge, but it does take a little more setup. But it does allow a win without combat. It will make the Caracas irrelevant as far as the milling portion of the combo is concerned. And I suppose Will is safe attacking with everything because he does have an Arcanist that can block.
Yeah, so if you are going to make this line, I think you do need to get a blocker in play here. Currently, the Vengevine can still come back into play here. If you just sacrifice the Gravecrawler twice, then you can... okay, well, no longer anymore because the zombie in play that would bring back the Gravecrawler is no longer there. So good awareness on that for sure.
But I think a Bloodghast milled over on that.
Yep.
It's hard to tell. That is pretty small. There might actually be 2 of them in the graveyard.
There are.
Fire land. So there aren't probably too many terrible draws for Mickey right now.
Yeah, like
additional Hogaaks maybe. Oh, and Will finds the Surgical, the only remaining piece of graveyard in the deck.
That is big. That is big, big, big. Because now if you can extract the Hogaak, you actually just turn the combo off entirely.
Yeah, or, well, because that Ponder was actually cast, the Arcanist can't come down to block. So the potential of maybe the Vengevine gets... We'll see what happens. But either the Vengevine or the Hogaak, whatever route Mickey attempts to work off of, the Surgical is going to bust it up.
Yeah, so it looks like we're going to activate in the draw step and go after the Bloodghast. Okay, going down to 5. Wait a minute. This could be kind of scary if the last 2 cards are creatures.
Yeah. If there's a zombie, even if there's just 1 zombie, then the Gravecrawler can sack and recast twice, and Will would die.
No, the zombie would lose haste, so maybe we would just go down to 1.
Oh, you are correct. So a drawn zombie would do it.
Okay, well, I mean, that's...
Oh, and that's it then. An uncastable Careful Study and a Bridge from Below that is castable, but not helpful.
Yeah. Wait, do we get an extra draw here? 3, 1, 1, 5 down to 4. Okay, so maybe there's one more draw step.
Oh, okay. If that happened, did it happen on upkeep? If it did, then you're right.
No. I mean, is this not lethal on board?
Oh, I see what you're saying. The game's not over with, and then that makes it tough because then Surgical can be cast again.
So then maybe it is lights out here. Dang, that was a really good lightning bolt on the Citrus Supplier. Not something that I would really enjoy doing because Citrus Supplier going to the graveyard is just so many cards that will, just go to the graveyard for the Hogaak player. But on this exact board state, yeah, I mean, it's the play. And I think we're posturing to a game position where all the Bloodghasts are gone now, so we have 0 hasty threats that we can get into play. If we get rid of the Vengevine in the graveyard, then there's just no more outs.
Right. Then it would be just Will sitting at 1 life and only having to block a Gravecrawler. and then only having to worry about getting milled, which seems unlikely.
Right. I mean, maybe we just get like, oh, do we know there's another days? There's another days on top. Yeah, okay, cool. So then brainstorm, maybe just like find lightning bolt. Okay, never mind. Never lucky.
Yeah, so it does look like you're right. It does look like Mickey will get another turn. In fact, it's basically assured at this point. 3, 4, 5. Yeah.
But what could even be drawn here?
Well, a Stitcher supplier would enable, or a grave crawler, either one would enable a Hogaak, which can then sacrifice to mill Mickey, and if another Hogaak is found, then potentially a loop could be set up to mill a bunch of Will's deck. But I don't think Mickey has enough cards left, because Mickey has a lot of cards exiled already, and it's a very taxing loop on your own deck to execute the Hogaak altar loop without a bridge.
Right. No, I agree with you. This is definitely going to, if Mickey is going to win this game, it's going to be extremely tricky. And, oh, wow. Oh, no, never mind. 2 Dreadhorde Arcanist triggers, so probably 1 on the Surgical and then 1 on the Brainstorm.
What if, now, Will's seen Mickey's deck now. If an Abrupt Decay is drawn, Will would lose, because the blocking Arcanist would die, and the Gravecrawler would kill. We can see there is an Abrupt Decay in the deck, and I think, yeah, I don't believe Will has an answer. Oh, I'm sorry.
Missing something.
No, yeah, because I missed the fact that the Surgical Extraction on Arcanist was not going to cost life points.
Right.
Yeah.
Dreadhorde Arcanist is such a broken card. My goodness, it does everything. It attacks, it draws cards, it blocks Thalia. It's just so good.
Yeah, I definitely missed that. I think actually, even when Arcanist casts it, maybe Will has the option to pay life. But yeah, obviously you're not going to do that, and maybe you don't have the choice. It's just cast it straight up normal. Yeah. So Arcanist casts it from the graveyard.
Okay.
Mickey does draw. If there's still a blue source in the deck, now the Careful Study is. This would be a shame if the Careful Study finds some win condition, which then loses to the Double Daze, which is actually extremely likely.
Yeah. Wait, this is kind of interesting. I only see 1 Hogaak, 2 Hogaak, 2 Hogaaks in exile. Did we just not get rid of the other ones? Oh, because we want them to. No, there's a Careful Study. We want them to draw the Hogaak. Hard to say.
Double Daze cast on the Careful Study. Now it becomes difficult for Mickey to get a second creature into play. I'm not even sure how that would happen.
Oh, yeah. It would have to, like, mill double bridge.
I guess if there's Dryad Arbor, it could just be played. No, the land was already played for the turn. That doesn't work either.
It'd have to be something crazy, like ditch double bridge to the Careful Study, sack the Gravecrawler, mill a Hogaak, put the Hogaak into play, get a bounce with Karakas.
1 bridge. So 1 token. 1 token is not enough.
And Zurin Orb is the name here with Cabal Therapy. An effective GG on play as Will Krueger moves to 4-0 in the legacy portion.
Yeah, so good for him. And he plays a lot of Modern also. So he is looking in a good spot for the rest of the day. That was a cool match. That was, Will dug really hard to find the Graveyard Haze and got it on that. I mean, that Surgical was right at the limit of the cards he was going to be able to look at after all those cantrips.
Not even the Surgical. Okay, so this is probably one of the more explosive turn 2s that I've seen from the Hogaak side, right? And that just all came off the back of milling 3 Vengevines off of a Hedron Crab, which is insanely incredible. A lot of power, 12 points. Like that's literally the kind of aggressive starts you have in Vintage, the format, with even more broken cards, right? So that was pretty cool. And it was also just kind of crazy how like the Lonesome Crop rotation did a good enough job of just like shutting all of that down. So
it was huge. And I believe that was with Mickey going first and Will had Delver on turn 1 and chose not to play it so he could hold up the crop rotation mana. And if he plays that Delver, he's probably dead by turn 3.
That's a lot of discipline. I mean, I would have probably slammed that Delver and died on turn 3.
Yeah, well, Will Krueger shows his worth, shows he's got the skills, he knows what's going on, and sweeps the legacy rounds. Our backup match did finish, so we're not going to have another match to show you, but Will Krueger undefeated. Let's go ahead and take a look at his path towards being so far in this event. We just saw him defeat Mickey Siegel and Sultai Hogaak. He did have a round 1 bye because he won our legacy trial back in September or October, whenever that was. And then we see the rest of his tournament. He defeated Steven Sherwin on 4-color combo.
That's the Oops All Spells deck.
The Oops All Spells deck. And then beat Brandon McCulloch playing Simic Infect, also 2-1. So Will Krueger moves to 4-0, and his modern deck is Selesnya Lands, which is a deck that is completely reasonable, upper tier deck in modern. So yeah, Will Krueger looking strong today, and not needing a great modern finish in order to get through this event. Two wins might be enough for him to get through in the modern portion. Although if he wants to win the event, he's gonna have to keep playing modern. So if you sweep legacy and then go 2-2 in modern and squeak into top 8 and then play more modern, maybe you're not feeling great. But at this point, he's got to be riding high.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be happy with any PTQ top 8 giving me a shot at that for sure.
Yeah. And even top 8ing this event, the winner of this event gets entry into the Call Time Championship, but the full top 8 gets into the Arena Qualifier weekend for that event. So, yeah, you don't have to win the whole thing to walk away with a pile of cash and an entry. So let's go ahead and look and see how the rest of round 4 played out around the room, or the room such as it is around the world. So you can see some of the players we've been following. Anyone that you are personally following, you could be able to find the result here. Nathan Stewart wins again with 4-color Snoko.
Yep. Looks like Sam Rolfe on Snow also is going to pick up the 2-1 against Theodore Jung. Dom Harvey 2-1 with Esper Vile, now winning over Azorius Control. And it looks like Edgar, unfortunately, going to lose this one to Elves, now sitting at 2-2. Mm-hmm. What else do we have? Maybe on the next slide, we can take a look here. Okay, nice. Oh, Justin Brickman against Yama Killer, Gall Schlesinger. Okay, that's 2-1 in favor of Gall. And
Elves versus Sneak and Show. That's going to be a tough matchup for Elves. Steven Stearman versus Brandon Burton still playing.
Yeah, that one I feel like might be favored for Sneak and Show, given the number of potential Pyroclasm and Grafdigger's Cages, and then also just like having Forcible but a fast combo. So we'll see how that one turns out. Zenside losing 0-2 to Matthew Vogt, so Death and Taxes taking the L against 4-color Snow, and then Greg Dyer still playing it out on the Echo Stompy list. And then finally, let's see what else interests me. Oh, nice. XJ Cloud, John Ryan Hamilton, 2-0 over Sultai Hogaak to round out this page.
All right, and then we have, the last set. We have Brandon McCulloch with Infect, who lost to Will Krueger, but defeats Lee Hung Nguyen on Bant mid-range. Jack Potter with Selesnya Lands comes out ahead of Colorless Ramp, played by Matthew Esch. That seems tough because Selesnya Lands has a lot of access to Wastelands, and Wastelands are great against post-type decks.
Yeah, Ramanap Excavator plus Dryad plus like a post is a easy way to start recurring Wasteland activation, so not surprised by this.
Another Elves versus Sneaky Show pairing this round. This one went the other way, with Matthew Bailey defeating Andrew Fiedler.
Oh, okay, yeah. Props to that. Also, at the very last of the page, we have Miranda Keith on Death and Taxes beating Adam Huyn on Doomsday. That's kind of interesting, right? Dark Ritual Doomsday being beaten by potentially turn 1 Deafening Silences and Spirit of the Labyrinths.
Right, Thalia, other kind of disruptive elements. Yeah, but Doomsday is a deck that, Death and Taxes is a slow enough clock that sometimes Doomsday is going to be able to reel those games back, even if they don't start out well, I would think. But that is kind of where things are looking. Things are looking at the end of round 4 as we move towards the end of the Legacy rounds. It's also the end of Anuraag's time with us today. What's your takeaway from the 4 rounds we watched?
I'm kind of excited. It just seems like we have a lot of really good players moving into the modern portion at the top tier. So that means that the top 8 is going to be even more stacked as modern makes its way out here. In terms of modern, I'm kind of excited to see what's been going on. I've been tuning in lately just to check the format, and I know that I would probably be between a couple decks here. I actually didn't get to submit what I would play for modern, but now that I'm here, I might just
Sure.
say like I'd probably play something involving Lotus Field and Teferi, Hero
Okay.
of Dominaria. That I saw that deck in action very briefly, and
Mm.
being able to untap Cryptic Command mana on your end step just seems like super super sweet to me.
It's very cool. Yeah. The So let me just tell you kind of what we're gonna be in for, as we do have a break between rounds. This is a long event, 8 rounds of Swiss, and also for players that are using card rental bots that they need a chance to return their legacy cards and then check out their modern cards. So what we're gonna have for you is um, the best 2 games of the finals. Actually, it's game 2 and game 3 of the finals of our modern trial from last month, with Ricardo Sanchez piloting his Omnath Time Warp deck. So we have those 2 games for you, slightly edited to take out some of the dead time. And then after that, Caroline Kavanaugh is going to show up. And before we get into the modern rounds, she's going to take a moment to kind of explain and talk about the new partnership between Nerd Rage Gaming and the Venus and Mercury League, and kind of tell you, what's on tap for the Venus and Mercury League and their upcoming season to start the new year. But that'll be after the break. For now, for Anuraag, thanks for being here. And for myself, hope you guys enjoyed the legacy portion. Modern's coming up. We'll be back in about half an hour before live play resumes.